The black boxes have been recovered from the crash site of the deadly midair collision just outside of Washington, D.C., involving an American Airlines plane and a U.S. Army helicopter. Investigators working hard to piece together how this tragic incident unfolded and what exactly went wrong. Now, joining us to provide more insight into this is aviation expert and former American Airlines pilot Richard Levy. Thank you so much for speaking with us today, Richard.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So there are numerous videos showing the collision from different angles. From someone such as myself and our audience, an untrained eye, it's hard to know what exactly took place. So can you take us through what you think happened based on your years of experience flying?
Sure. Washington Reagan Airport is an exciting airport to fly into. You have the nation's capital and the White House north of the airport has prohibited airspace up there. Can't fly through that. But that wasn't a factor in the accident 2 days ago. The airplane was on approach to runway 01 to the north into Washington Reagan National Airport, and that was normal. Then the controller asked the PSA airplane, the CRJ 700, could you take runway 33? That would help the traffic flow. The pilot said, yes, we can take runway 33. So the controller said, change your landing runway to runway 33 and you are clear to land runway 33. And the crew acknowledged that. Still, everything's normal. Now, a few seconds later, the regional airliner is on final approach, getting ready to land on runway 33. And they're descending to an altitude of about 400 feet. And shortly thereafter was the midair collision. Well, what happened? There was a military helicopter, an Army helicopter. It's a Black Hawk, and their call sign was PAT, P-A-T, PAT 25. The controller asked the helicopter, PAT 25, do you see the regional airliner, the CRJ aircraft, Canadian Regional Jet? And PAT 25 said affirmative. And then the controller said, PAT 25, maintain visual separation. And that's what it sounds like in English. Stay away, fly behind the CRJ 700. And the Army helicopter said, yes, we'll do that, in certain words, that is. And then the midair collision occurred. What went wrong? Well, the investigators of the United States government, the National Transportation Safety Board, has found the black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder, and the flight data recorders, and they're going to start putting the puzzle together today. But for your listeners, they will find it quite interesting. The Army helicopter, the Black Hawk, call sign PAT 25, should have been in an area on the east side of the Potomac River, that's just east of the airport, at an altitude of no higher than 200 feet. It appears from all indications at this early point, PAT 25, the Black Hawk helicopter, was at an altitude of 300 feet and maybe a little bit higher. If they had been where they should have been, the midair collision probably would not have happened. And so at this point, the investigators are going to look at the Army helicopter, and these helicopter flights have been flying down the Potomac River for years and safely. This time it did not work.
Well, Richard, if that is the case, was there anything that the American Airlines plane, could the aircraft have done anything differently? Because we know at any given time at airports, there are multiple planes landing, taking off. Would they have been able to avoid this at all? And I'm wondering, in terms of technology, does the aircraft rely on its own technology more than it would rely on air traffic control instructions? Or is this sort of a 50-50 relationship here?
That's a good way to put it. In aviation, we would say it's more of a 60-40, but in reality, it's 50-50. We rely on the air traffic controller, but as captains, we take responsibility for the safety of the aircraft. So if we are made aware of an Army helicopter out there, and I did not read in the transcript or hear on the air traffic control communications, the CRJ was told about the Army helicopter. So that's a disadvantage, number one. But number two, the CRJ has equipment that Air Canada, American, Delta, United, Southwest have. It's called TCAS, TCAS. That's Traffic Alert and collision avoidance system that's used mainly for an approach to landing when you're at higher altitude or when you're taking off and you're climbing up to altitude or you're already at your cruising altitude. It is deactivated, or it's not deactivated. It does not activate when you're below 1,000 feet. Initially, you can get a traffic alert, and you'll hear in the cockpit or the flight deck called nowadays, traffic, traffic. Well, if they heard that, and I'm going to tell you in a moment how we can prove if they did through the investigation, the CRJ did not have enough time to maneuver away from the Black Hawk helicopter. They would have heard the voice, the automated voice, of course, traffic, traffic. And then on their instruments, they would have seen a little bitty symbol that's identifiable as some type of an aircraft, a helicopter, a fixed wing airplane, something out there. And even if the TCAS, as we call it, had activated, there was no time to react. And they were making a turn to the right and then to the left to land for runway 33. And there's the helicopter right in front of them. No chance at all, in my belief there.
All right. Just such a tragic incident and still so many questions, more questions than answers. But Richard, thank you for your invaluable insight today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye. That is former American Airlines pilot and aviation expert, Richard Levy.